So Charlamagne the God, or Charla as I like to call him, recently made a death prediction for Kanye West, reacting to his recent words that he's stated in recent interviews that he's had on Alex Jones, on Lex Friedman, on Drunk Champs, just to name a couple of places. Now, again, you have to remember Charlamagne the God, because he spouts the proper pro-blackly black talking points, he's allowed to keep his job despite the fact that he pleaded guilty to a lesser charge in a situation involving intoxicating a young woman, an underage girl, and sexually assaulting her. And again, a lot of this got brought up because he made jokes about the situation. In fact, that's what he confessed. That's how he won over his wife, getting her intoxicated and sexually assaulting her. But again, here you have yet another example where a person is allowed to speak on someone else for saying unlikable words to certain people. Meanwhile, they have actual criminal charges attached to their name. And his is RAPE. Meanwhile, you currently have people still sympathizing for a rapper who's been accused of double murder. A rapper by the name of YNW Melly, facing some serious time for a double murder charge involving the death of his two best friends. And again, if you listen to any of his songs, is 100% on demon time, 24/7, 365. Murder, death, glorification. But again, who's the biggest threat? Who is the mainstream media more on the side of? Someone who is an accused anti-Semite and glorifying a dead man versus someone that's, actually doing harm to people, allegedly. I mean, you have blue check mark accounts and other accounts talking about the injustice that he is allegedly experiencing behind bars, despite what he's been accused of. Again, this is what Charlotte had to say, though. Because, of course, since he's protected, he feels comfortable speaking about someone else's behavior despite him actually criminally doing something to people. Now, he stated, quote, Kanye, he needs to start really leaning into God because nothing he's doing is of God. Yeah, getting underage girls drunk and sexually assaulting them, I don't think that's of God either. Maybe of your God, Satan. Anyway, he stated, nothing I've seen him do is of God. And I'm trying to get to the part where he made the death prediction. Let's see here. Okay, he says, man, I've said it once and I'll say it again. Kanye West is moving like a person who doesn't feel like he's going to be here much longer. And it's sad that folks are just watching this like it's normal. That man needs to be committed to an institution. Oh boy. But again, this is the sort of protections that you get when you cheerlead for Black Lives Matter. You allow Hillary Clinton to come on your platform with hot sauce, and then you allow Joe Biden to come on your platform and tell black people they ain't black if they vote for Trump or if they don't vote for him. When you participate in that sort of nonsense, you can have some of the worst crimes on your back and get away with it and still be able to lecture other people about how they're doing wrong. And then, of course, his co-host, Angela Yee, the feminist, replied to Charlamagne and what he had to say about Kanye, stating, quote, yeah, I don't see how anybody can defend Kanye West. I will say he needs help. But again, these people can, Angela Yee can defend and still work with somebody who sexually assaulted an underage girl. And the whole rap community, I mean, by God, they defend the worst kinds of people, including rappers accused of murdering two people. And then Charlamagne closed by saying, two things can be true. He can need help, and he can be a Nazi. He can be a bigot. So Charla calls him a Nazi as well. And again, this is more than likely from a pro-Blackly Black that has full support for the Ukraine, despite what exists in their military, and despite the fact that the Peace Corps have to give African American volunteers warnings about going to that country. If you want to talk about privilege, this is what privilege looks like. But again, at what cost? You essentially have to have no soul. You have to be okay with things like what Dwayne Wade is doing. You have to be okay with advocating a genre of music that pushes for murderers and criminals, despite the consequences. You have to be down for that. But again, 2020 has most definitely, the 2020s, this decade has most definitely proven that people are willing to sacrifice any and everything, not just for opportunity, but just so they can upset their ideological enemies. Like, they will support some of the most chaotic and destructive things just so they know, oh, at least it's making white people mad, Republicans mad, at least it's upsetting them coons. But anyway, so add death predictions, being called a black white supremacist, and being called a Nazi to the list of things that's attached to Kanye West's name. Meanwhile, we have mainstream media and woke tards on Twitter advocating for another rapper who's been accused of killing two people. And apparently he also made threats towards his mother. Just a lot of disturbing nonsense. If you want to look that up, just look up the story of YNW Melly. But again, history has shown they're perfectly fine with okaying and advocating for actual criminals. But if you say the wrong thing and haven't committed a crime, then you're the worst person ever in comparison. And that's by the book Libtard Logic.